Good evening, everybody. Monday Morning Quarterback, episode 140. Glad to be back with you guys tonight. Sorry, I am a few minutes late. Everything needed updated. OBS, Facebook Live. We hadn't done one of these in 4 or 5 weeks, and we've moved offices since that's happened, and so everything needed updated, and it took longer than I thought. So I apologize. Got a lot of feedback from you guys that you wanted to see the lives. We've been trying to mix it up with some other content, people behind the product episodes, some tech videos, product reviews, those sort of things. But it seemed that you guys wanted the live. I've heard it from people at the racetrack and in messages and everything else. So definitely wanted to bring the lives back for you guys. As I'd previously mentioned, the 9 o'clock time slot is difficult for me with young kids at home and trying to help my wife get them to bed and everything else. So we'll probably do it once a month, but we'll try to make sure we have lots of great content, and if we're going to have guests and stuff like that, we're well prepared. We let you know in advance that, hey, we got one coming this Monday that'll be live, and hopefully that works better for everybody so we can continue to answer your questions. By any means, if you have a question, you don't have to wait till the next Monday Morning Quarterback. You can always message me on Facebook, call the shop, email me, text me, whatever works best for you guys. Always here to answer all the questions you have. So tonight I have a couple things that I wanted to go over, and we will show those and answer some questions that have came in. And I also want to show you a few new features on our website, which will be helpful with your shot questions. We've been doing some work on the back end there, and Shahab, our engineer, has been getting a lot of models done. So tonight's Monday Morning Quarterback kind of spawned another idea I had for some more information we can put on our website. So we'll try to show you that a little bit later on. There's some cool new stuff there that you can see. So one of the questions that I've got, and we've covered this before, but it'll be good to reiterate, are large body twin tube shocks. So the RS15LT and then the 18LT, which superseded it. There is non-adjustable versions of these, single adjustable, and double. So all of our shocks, this is your rebound adjuster at the rod end, okay? With the exception of the 18LT and the 15LT. So both LT, which stands for large tube, both of the large bodies, our rebound adjuster is right here, okay? And we even, I don't know if I can show it to you, we can see it, we even laser etch REB there. So the first one just had a plus and a minus, but there was some confusion, so we marked rebound there, so you know that is your rebound adjuster on the large body twin tubes, and this is your compression adjuster. All of our other shocks, RS15, RS12, the small body twin tube line, the MTX, the X2, the RS17, this is your rebound adjuster on those. So the only exception would be large body twin tube. This is your rebound, this is your compression, okay? On all of them, full stiff all the way clockwise is going to be full stiff. So all the way clockwise till it stops, that's our zero position, which we call full stiff, and that will be where you would start counting your clicks from. Sure, always going to want to count from full stiff all the way clockwise, no matter what the adjuster type is. And then on the XT, the new style shock, both adjusters are up on the can, but we have them marked compression and rebound. So that is how those adjusters work. And I think we're going to work on a diagram to show you guys on the website so we can break that down. We do put an information sheet with new sets in the box that kind of breaks all that down, but an illustration might work a little bit better. And so speaking of illustrations, I'm going to show you our website. So it doesn't look like the audio wants to work when I go to the website. So I'm just going to walk you through it real quick um, by clicking, and you can follow along. Then when you get to this resources page, um, you'll see technical data. So I'll show you where that's at. Or, excuse me, parts diagrams. So as you can see on a lot of our shocks, I think all of them are on there now. We have very detailed diagrams that are going to show um, the shock in an exploded view, so you can see kind of what's there inside of it if you needed to order a specific part or you had a question on a shock. We've gotten those detailed views, and I think I'm going to have Shahab do some illustrations showing where the adjusters are and how they work on the different models of shocks, and we'll get that on there. But again, if you went to that part of the website, and I apologize, the audio is not working for some reason, but there is a ton of information on that website. So again, that's support, resources, and then we have a bunch of installation guides, some instruction sheets for different things we sell, and then the parts diagram. So a bunch of good stuff there to take a look at. The next question that I've gotten is about shock oil. So this is not something we've covered in the past. This would typically be a question from a rebuilder. But they said, what's my theory, opinion on shock oils and different things? So we've tested a number of different shock oils. We've used a few different types of shock oils in our 12-year history. But one thing that we've always done is synthetic shock oil and very lightweight. And one of the reasons we go with the lightweight shock oil is it doesn't thin out as much with heat. If you're starting very thin, it can't get much thinner. So I know on some of the pro builds and stuff, they use like a 15 and a 20 weight oil, a really thick oil. When it gets hot, it thins out and the shock fades and you lose a lot of dampening force. We use a 3 weight oil, so really thin. There is a thinner oil on the market. Redline has an oil called Like Water, and it's super thin. And that kind of stems from many moons ago when I built NASCAR shocks and worked for a NASCAR team. A lot of the guys at that time were using Redline's water wetter in the shocks. It worked really good. It had good lubricity to it, and it was super thin, but it would eat up the inside of the shock if you left it in there for more than a day. So you'd have to put the oil, put the water wetter in on race day and then take it out right after. So Redline then did an oil that had more oil properties and wasn't as corrosive. And there are some folks that use that oil. It's not super popular. We've done some testing with it. We saw a little bit more fade than we'd like on left rear shocks. Typically when we're testing a shock oil, we always do a high rebound left rear. That's where you kind of the most extreme condition for a shock oil. And we've done some outside testing for other oil companies through the years. And so yeah, we use a thin synthetic oil. We sell that oil. That oil is available to purchase on our website if you were rebuilding your own shocks. So another question we get that we've answered in the past is how we feel about people wanting to rebuild their own shocks, and we're 100% okay with it. We just caution that if you've never rebuilt shocks before, or you don't have a real high-end shock dyno, it's probably not something you ought to dig into unless you're just very experimental, because there's a lot to them, and if you don't get them quite right, and you don't have the dyno and the testing tools to identify if it's right or not, it can be a big pain. and we're not really set up, so to speak, for tech support on rebuilding and rebuilders. We've had a few um, requests to do a shock building seminar rather than a shock tech seminar. And that's something we could potentially do in the future as shock dynos become more readily available and more affordable for folks. But at this point, we recommend that would go to a rebuilder or go to us unless you have a high level of shock building experience. So, a couple questions. What Trevor Reed's opinion on best donuts in the Indy area? It's kind of a hands down. Here in Brownsburg, our local bakery, Hilligoss, is the best. And we've won a lot of races this summer, and we've eaten way too many donuts. It's always been our thing. If we won a big race, or any of the guys in the shop won a race, or crewed on a car that won a race, we bring in donuts on Monday. Well, that's trickled into like 3 or 4 of us have won races, and we have donuts like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then we've had some customers bring in donuts, and yeah, way too many donuts recently. But Hilligoss, the local Brownsburg bakery, is super good. The other really popular one is Long's Bakery, which is down by the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Not in the safest of neighborhoods, but super good donuts down at Long's too. Questions are starting to come in, so I'll jump over and answer those. If you have a question, go ahead and comment. I'll stay as long as needed to answer all those questions for you. That's what we're here for. Again, we're going to bring back Monday morning quarterback at 9 o'clock. That nighttime time slot seemed to work best, but we're probably only going to do it once a month. So, Justin, what's your thoughts on running a bump spring on both rear corners of a non-wing micro sprint? Typically, non-wing, we just run it on the right rear. Reason being, we don't travel down on the left rear as much in non-wing, and you shouldn't be really down on the left rear non-wing. It should be rolled over to the right rear. If it's down on the left rear, the car probably doesn't have the right attitude. So you could put a spring over there. If it did get down, it could maybe help push it to the right rear, but that's not something we've really ever experimented with a whole lot. I do think the bump spring on the right rear non-wing, there's certain instances where that is very powerful. Help stick the tire, add drive, etc. Where you have to be careful is choppy and rough racetracks. You can tend to get a hop going on, or if the track has a really big curb and you need to run up against the cushion, that's typically not the ideal time to do it. But we've worked really hard to have soft, progressive bump packages, whether it be our progressive kit or progressive spring kit, which we really did for the micro guys because it's a much shorter installed height. It's an inch shorter installed height. So yeah, non-wing, you can definitely get added grip with the bump rubber. And if you do it right and you do it in conjunction, you can a lot of times go softer on your torsion bar to initiate roll, and then kind of in the sweet spot of your travel, get into that bump spring to load the tire, which gives you a real nice progressive or dual spring rate effect. Brandon, I had that on my list. Good question. Torsion bars versus coilovers. What are my thoughts? So it really depends on the application. A general statement, I guess, would be coilovers react quicker. I feel like your sweet spot is a little bit smaller with a coilover versus a torsion bar. A torsion bar is a little lazier, but a little more forgiving. I definitely think lower horsepower non-wing applications, a coil front is still the choice. I think you saw a lot of the non-wing sprint car guys get away from it. So when I first moved here in the early 2000s, like most non-wing sprint cars were still coil front. But as the motors got more powerful, the tires got better, the shocks got better, figured out a couple ways to get more drive out of the chassis, the coil fronts were just too erratic. Transferred weight too quick, and just didn't have overall as good of a balance and as large of a sweet spot as a torsion bar car. Midgets are half the horsepower, or not even half the horsepower of a sprint car. So coil front is still a popular choice there. That's what majority of the cars are. Helps with forward drive, helps the thing get up off the corner. I think on the micro side, when it's really slick, a coil front micro for non-wing is going to be advantageous. One of the challenges non-wing with a torsion bar is as it slicks off and you really want to raise the nose, your arm angles start to get really funky, and you get your arm, with this bad angle, and there's no tension on it. It's kind of laid on top of the axle. So you'll see some guys have axles with rollers or spacers to try to get the arm angle back right as they raise the nose of the car, where with a coilover you don't have any of those issues. So hope that answers that. Super slick, smooth track. How much is too much bump spring on a right rear micro? You'll typically know if you have too much spring or too tight of a gap because the car will bounce. So you'll either get into the spring too early in the travel, or it'll build rate so fast that it pushes itself off of it. And then the car's going to say, no, I want to be over here, and the spring's going to push itself off of it, and you kind of get a bounce and a porpoise. That would be when you knew you either had too small of a gap or too much rate, or both. Jesse, my thoughts on springs in a quarter midget heavy class, specifically heavy springs or soft springs on the right side. It depends on the track. Obviously, we run stiffer springs on pavement or asphalt than we would on dirt. But definitely a heavy driver, I'm going to run stiffer springs than I would on a junior car. So it also depends on the driver weight. Flat tracks, typically I run the same rate springs, right front to right rear. On a bank track, I'll run 5 to 10 pounds stiffer on the right front. So if I'm going to a flat track and we'll say the kid weighs 120 pounds, he's in heavy 160. We would probably be in the 115 to 120 range down the right side. And if I'm going to a bank track, I'll say I'll be a 125 right front and a 115 right rear. So hope that helps. Brandon, junior sprint advantage to running a compression adjustable versus rebound. So the only corner we would do that on is the right rear. And this would go for junior sprints or micros. A lot of our non-wing sprint car customers still run a compression adjustable right rear. It gives you the ability to free the car up, where with the rebound adjustable, you can take the rebound out, obviously, but if the track is fast or it's choppy, you don't have the ability to add compression and keep it from laying over there. It'll come off of that corner quick if you take the rebound out, but if you can't increase the compression, it can still be lazy and lay on the right rear. A junior sprint being an underpowered car, a compression adjustable definitely can give you the option to keep it off the right rear and keep your corner speed up, especially if it's a track that's got grip or you have the race car fairly tight. So that's where the option would be. I keep threatening to build some threaded bodies for the XT so I can run a double on Hudson's junior sprint because I think there's something there. Not that a junior sprint needs a $900 shock, but it would be more for experimenting and trying to figure out what the best compression rate would be for a junior sprint. So, is there anybody in Northern California that we can have our shocks dyno to see if there's an issue before sending them all the way back to Indiana? That's a good question. To my knowledge, well, we don't have a rebuilder in California. We used to have Jake Swanson, and he moved back here to Indiana. So we're happy to have Jake back here. He's kicking butt racing. and still helping us move product, but he's no longer in California. So D1 has a dyno, and they can dyno and check. So they do that for some micro customers. We do have a rebuilder up in the Pacific Northwest. KLR Suspension, Kyle Canoyer. He's a stone's throw from Deming Speedway. And we're actually talking with setting up a rebuilder out there in California at the moment. But those would be your current options. Jake at D1 would probably be your best bet to get your shocks dynoed. Justin, when would I raise or lower the nose of a quarter midget, and what part of the turn does that impact the car? So I think it impacts the car through the whole corner. So I feel like if you get the nose too high, it definitely won't want to turn on entry, and that's going to affect you entry to center to exit. So I feel like nose front ride height or nose height, however you want to refer to it, will affect you through the whole corner. It gets you from entry to exit. Typically, I will only raise the nose in an instance where high horsepower, world formula, mod formula, and you're just really struggling for traction off the corner. Getting the nose up will help that. And in those type of classes where you let off the gas, you get that weight transfer from rear to front, which helps the car turn. Where in a Honda class where it's momentum and it's wound up and running wide open the whole time, if you get the nose up, it's kind of always up. It never gets that weight transfer back down like a class where you let off the gas. So typically only do it in the higher horsepower classes where you're on and off the gas. And I would raise the nose in an instance where I'm looking for forward drive. Michael, 305 Sprint car, what's better, gas or twin tube? Or is there an advantage one way or the other? So we have guys that are successful in winning races on both. What I typically ask is, what is the track conditions where you're racing? If the track stays fairly smooth, it's pretty predictable. The twin tube shocks are a good option. The large body twin tubes, typically we do single adjustable front, double adjustable rears, a ton of tunability in that package, and it'll work really good in majority of track conditions. If you say my track or the tracks I race at are really choppy and rough, they always build a big cushion, that's when we would start the discussion on leading you towards a gas package. That's where the gas shocks really would shine, as a choppy, rough track where you need more control on a 305. So, David, do we have episode tutorial to learn about shock springs basics? Sure. So if you go to our YouTube page and it's CSI Shocks, please subscribe while you're there. We're trying to build our YouTube page. We're approaching 200 videos on there. Most of those are tech videos. All the Monday morning quarterbacks are cataloged there. And then I did about a 3-hour shock seminar during COVID, and it's there. So you can watch all 3 hours of it on our YouTube page. Please subscribe while you're there. We're getting close to 1,000 subscribers, and like I said, we're trying to build the YouTube page. So we post all of our Monday morning quarterbacks there, all of our tech videos, and it'll be a great resource for you. There's a ton of information there. So yeah, good one tonight. It's good to get back, answer all these questions. I certainly appreciate everybody participating. Again, we're going to do these about once a month, and we will let you know plenty in advance so you can plan for that Monday to know it's there. Again, if you have a question in the meantime, message me here on Facebook, email, text, call the shop, whatever works for you guys. We're always here to answer your questions. That's very important to us, and it's been an integral part of our success, is helping our customers get the most out of the products that we sell them. Whether you use our products or not, we're happy to help, but certainly for CSI customers, I feel like that's been a bit of the recipe of our success. So yeah, we're working on a technical text line. So many people love to text. So we're currently working on a way for customers to be able to text questions and we can respond back much quicker. So hopefully we have that all ironed out here in the next week or two. Yeah, so that's it. A lot's happened since the last one. We've got moved into our new facility. Won Sprint Week. Tyler Courtney won the King's Royal, which was awesome. So yeah, a lot of cool things for our little company. We continue to grow, and it's all thanks to all you great customers. So we really appreciate that. Yeah, Nick, thank you. The building is really nice. We're putting together a video of a shop tour, so we'll show that soon. And maybe I'll do a live and just walk around and show some of the photos that are hanging. So if you're a customer and you're watching, send us a picture. We'd love to hang it in the new shop. We've got a ton of pictures, but a bunch of them are old, and we'd like to add more. We have a lot of room. So that'll probably do it for tonight. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Hope you all have a fantastic week. Hope to see some of you at the BC 39. We'll be there with our shock trailer. And if not there, hope to see you at a race soon. Take care, guys.